Welcome to the Your Family Dog podcast, where we celebrate the special bond between families and their canine companions. Our goal is to help families and dogs grow up together, one episode at a time. So, welcome back to the Your Family Dog podcast. Today, I am joined by someone that I am delighted to finally get to meet, Dr. Patricia McConnell. She's been on the she's been on the podcast previously, talking all things dog, but today we're going to talk about her first novel that's a mystery novel. It's called Away to Me, and it's a big departure from the work that Patricia's done previously. So today we're going to talk about her fiction book, and there's probably going to be some dog talk. So just sit back and relax. So, Dr. McConnell, it's great to meet you. I'm so glad you're on the podcast again.
Oh, thank you, Tina. And just call me Trisha.
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
Trisha. So, and of course, there'll be dog talk because the book is full of dogs. It's very dog forward, as one would say.
How can it
So,
not be?
yes, yes. At one point, I was talking to somebody at the publisher and talking about who to talk to about the book. And I was like, you know what? It's not just a dog mystery. It's a mystery novel. And then I sort of went back and there's dog on every there's just
Paragraph.
dogs everywhere. This is, I'm talking about picking up poop and it's just yeah, it's a dog book. But it's a mystery novel.
Right. So what made you, I mean, you've written so many books. Like, you're such a prolific author. What made you say, you know what, I'm going to write a mystery?
Yeah, thank you for asking. I almost had to answer that in hindsight because it's one of those things that just sort of happened in a way. But in hindsight, when I think about it, I was getting older. I was wanting to retire from seeing clients. I felt like I wasn't. I just wasn't doing a good enough job anymore. I was just getting older, working with really aggressive dogs, and I was getting a little slower,
It gets dangerous.
and 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 just I was getting tired of traveling around the world giving seminars. So so I retired from those two things, but I love to write. I'm still doing my blog, and I've always loved fiction. I've always loved mysteries, and I just thought, just for fun, just for fun, I'm just going to play at writing a novel. And then it was really fun, although I'll talk about at one point about how hard it is, but it was really fun. And this thing happened to me that I read about. You fall in love with your characters. And I've read about it, but when it happens, it's amazing. It's like these characters you think you describe, you think you know who they are. Then as you write about them, it's like a photograph in a dark room. They get brighter and clearer and more colorful. And then you get really fond of them. And, there are times I'm writing things about I'm so sorry. It's like something bad's going to happen to you. I'm so sorry.
Oh, well, I hope Maddie
Yeah.
forgave you.
It's, fiction is it's incredibly fun because unlike nonfiction, anything can happen, right? Anything can happen. Whee, you freeze a bird. The downside, what makes it so hard, is that anything can happen. And you have to make it up. And you have to make it credible and believable. And you have to make it flow. And you have to decide every single sentence what's going to happen next. So it's very hard and really fun.
So I
Really
have a
good.
question.
Yeah.
So, when we're kids and they're teaching us how to write a paper or a book or an essay or whatever, they kind of, it never really worked for me. Right. So I can remember they were like, do your research and use your index cards and then make an outline and then da, da, da. And they
Yeah.
had like this process of writing. Um, and when they were teaching it, it was like, okay, 2 weeks from now, this is due, and 3 weeks from now, this is due. And so that they were trying to teach a standardized process for how to do the work. This is when your rough draft is due. This is when your final draft is due. And I always had to start with the rough draft and work backward and then do the final draft. It never like, so
Yeah.
I ended up doing like the whole project in 2 weeks. Like whenever that first piece had to be turned in, my paper had to be done basically. So
Interesting.
because the process just didn't work. Like my neurons were like, no, that's not working for me. So
Yeah.
talk to
Yeah.
me about how the process works for you. Because I think there's magic there, right? Of how you
Well, and I think,
organize your
yeah.
thoughts.
And I think it's a great question because so many people, I mean, and I'm sure it's a lot of your listeners who's like, I always wanted to write right, whatever, right? And think like, oh, I couldn't do that. So I would just start actually by saying this book actually started because I had a scene that just came into my head at a sheepdog trial. And I was sitting at a sheepdog trial. Sheepdog trials, there's a big field. Out there is a handler, and there's a judge and a judge's stand, the dog and the sheep. And then there's a row of, the other handlers, participants, right? And you're sitting there watching. And I was sitting watching at this beautiful sheepdog trial. And I'd just been reading a murder mystery. All right. I read them a lot. I love murder mysteries. I love mysteries. That doesn't have to be a murder. I love mysteries. So I'm sitting there and I literally had this scene in my head of what if what if the person standing at the post, so the sheepdog trial, there's a post where you have to stay and then your dog does a lot of the work at certain times of the trial. What if somebody shot the person at the post? What if out of the blue, there was a gunshot and the handler standing at the post was shot? And I went, oh, well, that would be an interesting mystery. Why did that happen? Why would that happen? I don't know. So I wrote, and I'm not giving anything away. That's the first chapter. It's the first chapter. So Maddie McGowan, who is the protagonist, who is, parentheses, write what you know, an animal behaviorist. So Maddie McGowan is a sheepdog trial, and one of her best friends and sheepdog trainer mentors is shot dead at a trial. And so I literally started, okay, I have a scene, and I had no idea what was going to happen from that. And I did it almost the reverse of the way you're supposed to write a mystery. When you write a mystery, and I read a lot of books about it, went to some workshops, you need to know everything that's going to happen so you can throw in these little breadcrumbs, right? Throw in this little this and little that and this little clue and this little hint. And I did not do it that way at all. I just started writing more like people write sort of non-mystery related fiction. I just started writing and I got like 4 or 5 chapters in and I started creating characters. And then I started working really hard on the plot. And I had a lot of help. Writing fiction is always a group effort. So I had a lot of help. But my process, Tina, is I write best in the morning. So what I always do is I love to edit and I hate to write blank, right? I hate the first part, the blank screen, the blank page.
Right.
So what I always start editing what I wrote the last couple of days.
Nice.
And that just gets me into the flow and it gets me going. And then I'll write new stuff. And then the next day, I'll read the last 2 chapters and I edit that. So everything in the novel Away to Me has been edited like 786 times. Because I just keep editing and editing, and that's what gets me started. And I really did do it a bit back asswards. But it worked, just like your method worked. Everybody has to find the method that works for them. There's just no question about it. It's so personal. Writing, you have to find what works for you.
So do you think there will be new books with Maddie? Because you love her.
I hope. I
Like you
do.
love
I
her.
do. I
So
hope, and I hope people love her too. Can I just talk about Maddie quickly and then I'll
yeah.
talk about next books? Yeah. So Maddie is, as I mentioned, right, what she's an animal behaviorist. She sees a bunch of interesting, lovely, and quirky clients. Um, she lives on a lonely owl farm with sheep and Bo Peep, the sheep guarding dog, and Jack, her too smart, exhaustingly, wonderful border collie. And little Clementine, who's a little half-breed terrier thing, who's very, very old and, sort of lumps around on the sofa most of the time. I just got so lost in talking about Maddie, I forgot your question.
Oh, well, you were just chatting about who Maddie is
Yeah,
and about will we see her again?
that was the question. That was where we started. Thank
Yes.
you. So yeah, so I hope so. So here's the hope and the dream, but putting in a little note of reality that I'm 77 and have some medical adventures. So the hope
Don't
is
we
that,
all?
don't we all? So Matt, so Away to Me is the first, I hope, of a three-part series with Maddie McGowan and Jack, the border collie, and Bo Peep, the guard dog. So the first one is Away to Me, which for people who don't know, that is the
It's a
cue.
herding cue.
Yes, yes, good for you. Given by a handler to send their dog counterclockwise around the
Go
sheep.
by and away to
Way to
me.
Me and Come By or Go By. So the second book will be Come By, which is go clockwise.
Right.
And the third book will be, you guessed it, That'll Do.
Oh, I
So
love that.
there's a
Like
plan.
that's so beautiful.
So that's the hope. I'm already working on Come By.
Nice.
Don't have many chapters done, but I've started. Yeah, yeah. So that's the hope. That's the
That's
plan.
wonderful. So your descriptions of Wisconsin and the environment there
Yeah.
make me want to get in the car.
Oh, well, come.
I
I
will
have a
need
guest
to. I
room.
actually have a good friend who lives in Madison. So
Really? Yeah.
I need to have a road trip. That's one of the places I've never been. So it almost feels like in your writing, the natural environment is its own character,
Thank you
which
for saying that.
which I know as a dog trainer, the environment is a character, right? Like
Perfect analogy. That's
it is
great.
like
Yeah.
it amazes me how many times trainers like enjoy the heat and air conditioning and light and bug-free environment of inside the building and are getting fantastic results, and then they take their dog outside and their dog's brain
Right.
is embedded in the clouds because the environment is a character in the story.
That is a brilliant analogy. That is so good. So yes, thank you for your comment about the land because it's hugely important to me and it was a really important part to me of writing the novel such that you could feel like you were there.
Yeah.
And Wisconsin, for those of you who haven't been here, Wisconsin is, people tend to think of the Midwest as sort of this flat, boring plain. Wisconsin is beautiful. It has one of the most remarkable areas. I live right on the edge of it. It's called the Driftless area. It's an amazing area with a phenomenal biodiversity, hills and cliffs, and so I live in the hills. It's a beautiful, beautiful state. It's highly varied, and the land I mean, Maddie lives on a farm, and the land is indeed, it's a huge character. And I loved writing about it. I loved writing about it. I really, really did. And I love the idea that people could feel them, not just see themselves, but feel themselves there as they read.
Well, and I really love the depth of the relationships and how you really explore that. It's not with all their complication, right? Like no mask, like there's no blur, there's no filter. It's like here are these feelings and they're raw and they're okay. And processing grief while also exploring a mystery and in our bones wanting to find out, wanting justice, wanting to understand the why that so
Yeah,
often is unattainable.
yeah, yeah. Do you want me to just give a little elevator
Sure.
summary of the book?
Yeah.
Should I? Yeah.
Yeah.
So the protagonist, Maddie McGowan, again, write what you know, because I don't know a lot. I didn't know a lot about writing fiction. I know nothing, I'm happy to say, about murder. Um, so
Yes.
happy to
Just what I
say,
read.
very happy to say. I do know a little bit about trauma, however.
Mhm.
So Maddie McGowan is an animal behaviorist. She lives on Lonely Elf Farm with Jack, her border collie. She has sheep. She competes at a very intermediate level at sheepdog trials. As I mentioned, her dear friend and mentor is killed at a sheepdog trial. While she's still reeling from that, the local shelter asks her to foster a very damaged, half-dead German Shepherd who's found by the side of a road. So she decides to she fosters him. She thinks he'll do better outside of the shelter, obviously. And things are going really, really well until she goes back to her house, her farm, one day and discovers one of the dogs is gone. Just gone. And she does what we would all do. She goes crazy, right? And the rest of the book is about what she goes through and what this possible tragedy and all this fear brings out and brings up from her past life. So there's her past starts coming back, and sort of making itself known in some pretty horrible nightmares. There's a fling with an enigmatic shelter worker. There's a possible connection to a drug cartel. There's a strange figure that appears on the other side of the creek. And eventually, Maddie ends up almost risking her life and almost losing it in order to find this dog. And I'm going to do something that my publisher cannot believe I'm doing, my editor. I'm going to tell you that no dog dies in the making of this novel. And she's like, "You're giving away the plot." And I said, "I know, I get it. I totally
dog people are like, please don't kill the dog.
Nobody will read this book."
We're like, no, I
never read this book.
I'll just be crying the whole time.
I would never read this book, right, if a dog died. And so I am giving part of the plot away. But there is you read it, right? There's a lot of drama. There's a lot of tension. I don't know. Tell me, Tina, what did you think?
It was amazing. I thought to myself, like, okay, I've read all of her other books. I had no idea this was in here. I also see that magic of behavior and empathy and deep understanding of the interplay between environment and humans and their animals, and not just dogs. The depth of your professional work manifesting in this amazing story.
Oh, thank you. I absolutely did not write it for this purpose. But because I do what I do, right, and I am who I am, I do have hopes that people who are not as in the dog world as we are, and many of your listeners are, will learn some things about dogs, and some things about behavior, because Maddie McGowan is a behaviorist. She sees clients. Some of them there's a really quirky set of clients that I just adore. Larry and Daryl equivalents, basically, who, by the way, are absolutely taken from clients that I saw.
Oh,
absolutely. Yes, I literally saw the equivalent of, and if anybody knows what I'm talking about, remember the Bob Newhart show?
Right.
And the handyman were Larry, Daryl, and my other brother, Daryl.
Right.
So, yeah, so I saw clients that reminded me of that.
I know someone who has roosters, and it's Larry, Daryl, and Daryl. And they know the names. The two Daryls know who's the first Daryl and who's the second Daryl.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it was so fun to be able to feel like through this mystery, which I am so heartened people have been saying, I couldn't put it down. Damn you, I stayed up all night.
Right. I did have to use the sleep timer because I was like, okay, I have to go to bed.
Good.
Like, I'm gonna this big bags under my eyes. Like, this isn't a good idea.
That's my job. That's my job, is to make you have to do that.
So, right, so don't read it to go to sleep, because
no.
it makes your brain all sparkly.
Yeah. Well, it does, but like a lot of those kind of books, it sort of picks up very much at the end where it's like my husband like finished it not too long ago. He'd seen early drafts, but he really hadn't seen it in quite a long time.
Well, and it's different when you get the flow of the whole thing.
Right, right.
So what made
Exactly.
you pick Maddie as a name?
Oh, that's such a good question. That felt so important, right? Felt
Names
really, really
matter.
important. And I wanted her to have a name that started with an M. And I think partly, there's research that names with that the M word is sort of very soothing.
Mhm.
So and I don't know if that's why I picked it. Um, I just wanted her to have a word start with an M. So I went through a lot of them. Um, and, ironically, so my publicist for Kensington Books, who is my publisher, is named Madeline. The editor is Wendy, and my beloved deceased older sister Wendy Barker is Wendy. So it's like all these connections. But and then McGowan, I was just like, okay, what fits, and I just literally went through that, just and just knew somebody, just pick mix, and anyway, I just sort of played with it and just found something that felt good, and I just, I like saying that, Maddie McGowan. So
It's
yeah,
wonderful. Like it's believable, right?
yeah.
It's which sometimes when I'm reading novels, the names are almost distracting. Like as I'm getting to know
Oh,
this character, I'm
interesting.
like, you're not a Tina. You're a Catherine. Like, why did this person name like did this author not know her own character? Like what's but Maddie McGowan is just like it's mwah, chef's
It
kiss,
fits
right? It's
good. Good.
amazing.
I'm glad it fits. That's good.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's a lot of tension,
Yeah. Yeah.
right, between like this love of environment and these beautiful relationships between Maddie and her dogs and then this horrific, terrifying, scary, awful stuff
Right.
that's traumatic that happens. How did you like did you find that you had like a grief process that you were processing things right along with Maddie as you were writing them?
That's a great question. There was actually a point where I thought I have to back away for a minute from this because for people who read my memoir, there's a lot of trauma in there, you know. And I realized at one point, I was actually at a writing workshop that was great, Madison Writer Studio. It's a fabulous place. And I was in a workshop and they were talking about what some people call autofiction, which is basically sort of taking parts of your life and then fictionalizing it. And I never set out to do that. But then I picked and I did never having written fiction. I just thought and it just felt so daunting to write a mystery novel. So I thought I'm just gonna start with stuff I know, right? Um,
Well, because that's what you kind of have to do in the
well,
beginning.
I did, I'm not good enough to write in a completely different voice and just sort of create like every character in there is somebody I've never met and had to imagine or research. I'm just not good enough yet. So,
You're more
but
than good enough.
thank you, but not for that. So like know your
I'm
limits,
still
right?
learning it.
Know your limits. So what I did find is that there is a backstory of Maddie that drives a lot of her life, although she thinks it's over and done. And so I think part of what I was pulling on is one, working with dogs who've been traumatized. And that was one of the things I wanted the public to know is that dogs can be traumatized too. I mean, there's no question, it's a biological phenomenon, and dogs can be traumatized. They can have what appears to be, PTSD-like symptoms.
Mhm.
So the idea that I could help people learn more about that was very heartening, that a lot of aggression has nothing to do, doesn't have to do with the dog is mean or the dog is dominant or, the dog's scared usually. Um, so there was one point where I was sort of getting into Maddie's backstory, and I just went, I'm gonna take a little break here. But then it was over, and then it was just all about the craft of writing. because it's such an interesting craft. I mean, I still have so much to learn, but I learned so much in doing it.
Well, and I mean, it's evident, it's very clearly in your work that there's a lot of you watching behavior and learning to understand in your bones. Like,
Mm,
oh, I saw that. Like maybe something that someone else would miss that you're like, I'm going to be a little curious about that, right? Lots of the hints of behavior, right? To take it back to dogs.
yeah, yeah.
I often say kids and dogs show us what enrichment they crave.
Oh,
And
it's a
they
great way
usually
to
do it by
say
annoying us,
it.
right? So the little kid that's tapping on everything, yeah, you're getting a drum kit. That's what we're doing, right? And the child who's twirling and stretching and cartwheeling all through the house, and you're like,
Yeah.
please stop knocking the lamp over. Yeah, we might need cheer, dance, martial arts, gymnastics, something. Um, and I see it with our dogs too. Like I have a very elderly Jack Russell, and he doesn't hear,
Oh,
he doesn't see, right? And our adventures that we used to have in retirement of walking out into deep grass and hunting a mouse that may
yeah.
or may not actually be there, but made him delightfully happy.
Right,
Um,
right.
Now it's a ball pit,
Mm,
right? So it's how do I bring this in for him so it's still safe and that
mhm.
we can still explore it when maybe the weather's crummy and
Right.
I'm not comfortable taking my sweet old man
Yeah. Yeah.
toddling out
Right.
into a cold dark world with rain. So it's very evident in the book that your lens is polished um, by
And,
trauma
and
and by joy.
and don't you also, I love the way you put that. What a beautiful phrase, by the way. I love to read everything you write. That's beautiful.
I don't write much. I mostly just
Well, you
teach
should
people how to
because
teach their dogs.
you use words beautifully. So
Thank you.
you should. But one of the things that you brought up in this, I think, is so important is that really good dog trainers are brilliant observers. And that's probably the number one key to being a really good trainer or behaviorist in my view. I mean, if you get my colleague behaviorists around and a ton of really, really good dog trainers, all of us say, what is the one thing you want the general public to know? And it's how to observe dogs, right? It's how to watch them, how to understand, because they are always they're always communicating with us, right? They're always telling us. And the more you can refine that, then the better handler and better partner, right? And better friend you're going to be.
Right.
And so part of what makes Maddie an interesting character is that because she's a behaviorist and she's learned to read the slightly closed jaw, the tiny change in the commissure, whether forward or back, right? The side eye. She's learned to read those, and don't. I'm so curious. I would love to hear from your listeners and you. I have this hypothesis that people who learn that become better observers of humans, better
Yeah.
observers of faces. You start see,
Yeah.
because we're trained to focus on the tiniest little change. Have you found that?
Yes. And it's also not lost on me that a lot of us who are in animal related fields have trauma
Yeah,
that could have
yeah, yeah.
pushed us to a cold, dark, damaged, awful place, or it can and by the way then give us permission almost
Mm-hmm.
to do the unforgivable sometimes, right? Like what people will be willing to do to control a situation instead of or
Mm-hmm.
that
Right,
trauma
right,
informs
right.
an empathy and an understanding of consent and an understanding of torture that informs our work and heals us while it's healing others in the world.
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, you're bringing up to me. the just amazing sort of biological phenomenon of this astounding relationship that really is a biological phenomenon, the relationship we have with dogs
It's
and
completely
how
different.
healing they are. And I think, I don't think there are many people who don't get to adulthood without some kind of damage. It's just not possible. It's just
Right.
that's the way the world is, you know? It's just, you don't
And
even need
there's
to have any
trauma with a
drama
big
behind
T
it.
and there's trauma with a little t.
Yeah, and there's just disappointment and heartbreak and feeling
Betrayal.
bereft and abandoned. I mean, his life is hard. There's just no way around it. And the fact that dogs are there as a family member, and the fact that they don't talk. I mean, I write about this, and I think it's for the love of dog. Maybe it's in my memoir, but it might be for the love of a dog, about emotions in people and dogs, about how the fact that they can't talk to us, I think, is a gift. It's just because words can get in the way, and having this relationship with an individual who feels like part of your family, who you love so much, who many of us would at least like to think we would risk our lives to save, um, because we love them so much. The attachment is so strong. And I think part of the reason it's so strong is that we don't talk to each other. We communicate, but words are kind of a burden in a way, you know? And so I think so many of us in the dog world, we're there because we're interested in behavior, we're there. There's all kinds of reasons. But I think a big part of it is that we crave the connection that we can have, this unspoken, deep, primal connection. We can
Well, they
have,
don't tell your secrets,
they don't tell your secrets. That's
right?
absolutely.
You can say mean things about what's
Okay.
going on in the world and how it's not okay and that it's bull honky donks and your dog doesn't tattle on you. Now, I
There's
will say as
that.
a trainer, a dog will tattle on you behaviorally, right? Like they will totally show me what you've done. Like because they can,
Yes,
right?
they can. Right.
Right? They can show me that you didn't do your homework.
Yes.
Or they can show me that you enjoyed it so much that it was overwhelming to them and that they needed more thinking time,
Mhm.
right? So, I mean, they absolutely do communicate. Um, I people are often astounded when I say like their cognition is like in language is like a 24 to 36-month-old human child. They understand an awful lot, and you
Yes, they do.
can literally have conversation and they will behave their side of it.
Right.
Um,
Right.
and I also like to think that I think you're right. I think none of us get through this world unscathed, right? It is part of it'll either control who you are or it will inform who you are.
Right.
And that this magical, amazing relationship between humans and their dogs
Mhm.
can bring us back to trusting other humans again and to healing some of that burdensome stuff, the yuck that we wish maybe wasn't quite so powerful.
And that's, that you just described the hero's journey, right? And that's Maddie's story. Maddie talks about what happened in New Mexico and leaves it at that.
Right.
She doesn't really want to talk about it. She's pretty sure it's all dealt with, right? It's behind her, everything's fine. And then
We're always fine.
we're always fine. We're fine. Absolutely fine. Yeah. And
Never
then
mind that we have like an arrow sticking out of our forehead. We're fine.
we're fine.
We're fine. It's fine.
And then she goes home and her dog is gone. Right. And
I
so,
can't even
like the
like
classic,
just the thought of it.
I know, I know.
Because I've had, okay, so I'll tell you my funny story.
Yeah.
So I had a 10,000-year-old Jack Russell Terrier who, blind, deaf, the whole nine yards, like, and just, he was sweetness and light. Like, he was just the greatest dog. Like, my heart still looks for him every day.
Get your face talking about him. That's so sweet.
Yeah, like, he
Yeah.
just, oh my goodness. Like, to know him, I mean, he was born an old soul and
Yeah.
still very much a Jack. Like, he still was going to do all the Jack things.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he and I had a really beautiful agreement. So
Mm.
one day, um, he didn't want to be in the backyard. So I had like a cable tie out in the front yard. And I didn't use it very often. Most of the time I would be out there sitting on the stoop reading a book while he was dawdling around in the front yard, because he was starting to get to that age where he would get lost in the backyard.
Yeah.
Like he would just get disoriented and not know where the house was. And that seemed like it was causing some stress and not the enrichment
Yeah.
that I wanted for him. So
Yeah.
we just made his world a little bit smaller in a managed way. So I go in the I went in the house like to take a phone call or something, call the client called or something. And I was getting ready to leave to go teach, and I go to the backyard to get the dogs and call everybody in, and I can't find Shorty. And I had forgotten that I had put him on the tie out in the front yard. And I was like apoplectic, like panicked.
I'm laughing only because I did the same thing. I locked one of my border collies in the barn, shut the door, not realizing it, called and called and called, starting to spiral into a panic, starting to freak out. Like it's 20 minutes, I'm starting to just like lose it completely because I don't like to think of myself as somebody who could, but I did. I was just panicking. And then I realized, and he didn't bark, he was just standing at the door.
Right. So when I went to close the front door to lock it to leave, he's on the front porch. Hi, Mom. Oh, Mom, you seem so worried. What's wrong? And I was like, and then all the cuddles, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And laughing at myself in the relief, but just the idea of I come home and one of my dogs is gone.
Yeah. So I think everybody can I think probably every single one of your listeners can relate to Maddie, who just becomes obsessed. And one of the things that happens to Maddie is sort of doubling it because she couldn't save her friend George. She couldn't save him. He was dead before, he was dead before he hit the ground. She couldn't save him and she couldn't bear that. And so at least she could do this, and she was surrounded by people who's like, Maddie, give it up. Dog is gone. And she just would not give up. Right. And ended up risking her life.
Well, and I'm glad she survived to ride another 2 months.
And we all know Maddie survives because there's going to be another book. And I promise you that no dog dies. So there you go.
Do you think you'll ever break that rule?
No.
No.
I can't. I mean, I could have a dog die of old age.
Right.
Fall
asleep in the sun.
But would a dog die somehow traumatically? I just don't want to write it. I just don't.
I don't want to put it in the world.
I get to choose how I spend my time. I just don't want to write it. I've got, my Maggie is going to be 13 in January, and her hearing is going, and she's got this issue and that issue, and taking my Skip in for he's got a displaced mitral valve, grade 4 heart murmurs, so he has a high percentage of having congestive heart failure, and he's going to turn 9 early next year. So he's actually going for a scan, his yearly scan, right after this. So everybody cross their paws. But yeah, so that's hard enough, right? Dealing with the fact that they don't live long enough. I don't want to spend my time writing fiction where I just don't. Nope. Guaranteed, promise, won't happen.
No, I mean, I wouldn't.
Not gonna happen.
There's some things I'm like, I can't do that. I can't do that.
No.
And I'm pretty strong, but there's some things
I believe that. No. So, but here, just to switch topics slightly, here's something I never thought I would do. Write a sex scene. Oh my God, I wrote a sex scene. I
don't think I could do that.
Well, it was very tasteful, right?
Right.
It was very tasteful. It's short, it's tasteful, but Maddie, there's a thing. And
so you're not going to be writing 30 shades of dog hair.
110 shades of dog handlers. I will tell you though, that I had fun with her relationship with this shelter worker.
Mm-hmm.
And in Come By, there's going to be a little bit more of that because I already have some ideas. I mean, there's as you will remember, just to tease people, at the end, there are a couple. Maddie is not dated in 12 years. Maddie has no interest in dating. And then she has a fling, and that just sort of wakes Maddie up a little bit, parts of Maddie specifically. And so in Come By, there are little teases at the end of Away to Me because there are some gentlemen who have been interested in Maddie. So I'm going to pursue that line of Maddie and men. There will be a little bit more Maddie and men in Come By.
Well, and that's part of healing is
Maddie,
reconnecting
certainly.
with humans.
For Maddie, it certainly was, absolutely, and trusting, and yeah. So
yeah, I have a girlfriend who didn't date for 12 years and realized that she was actually flinching at skin to skin contact. And so she started by we would go and get manicures, and then we added pedicures, and then we added facials, and then she went for massages.
Classic step-by-step counter conditioning.
Right? She was like, "You're the only one I know who knows how to do this." And I was like, "Okay, then we'll do it."
Isn't it amazing how much being a really good dog trainer and understanding how to use desensitization and counter conditioning teaches you about life, right? And how, I mean, we know these things apply to humans. A lot of it was discovered with humans, right? Anyway, so it's pretty much universal, even to planaria. So yeah,
I think anthropomorphizing was given a really bad rap.
What's that?
I think anthropomorphism was given a really bad rap.
I agree completely. Now, we can get into trouble with it.
Oh, of course. Yes. The same way that we can get in trouble with another human. I can't assume that I understand your motivation. Right. But I can go, okay, when I'm doing that behavior, how does that feel in my body? And what might that be about?
Yes. And no, and that's a great point that we don't know what, we so often make assumptions about.
We have different lenses.
Thinking or why they're doing things. There's so much great research, that if a friend does something that's maybe distasteful, you're like, oh, they're really tired today, they had a bad week. And if somebody you don't know does something that's like they're rude in the shopping cart line or something, you think like, well, they're a bad person. It's so easy to make assumptions.
Right. Or even our own motivations. Like, it's interesting. I've been reading a lot about human development and not up to 18. Like, I'm in my 50s. And I was like, you know what? I'm on this journey. I might want to have some sort of roadmap for what to expect. Yeah. And there was a moment where I had a lot of grief and loss. Like, I lost a lot of people and animals. I lost 3 dogs in 18 months.
Oh,
I lost my amazing grandmother. And then it washed over me. Oh, I'm getting older. And so's everyone else. And when we're young, grief isn't so much our constant companion, but at this age, grief and I are going to be walking more often together. Yeah. And I don't complain about the love, and I won't complain about the sorrow.
Yeah.
And understanding that gives me more empathy for other people, and recognizing that my values and integrity can be different than your values and integrity, and I can still honor that and love you and think you're amazing. Yeah. And it may be that the decision you made that maybe I thought was distasteful, I wouldn't have made that decision, that may just be a part of your lens, and that from your lens, that seemed completely appropriate and reasonable. And if I had that lens, I might feel that way too.
And in dog training, don't you think, I mean, I love hearing you say that. And don't you think that's just extra critical in dog training because it's just so easy to be blaming and shaming other people, and I
Well, I
mean,
don't talk to a lot of other dog trainers.
well,
I do, but I'm
well,
careful.
yeah, and I think it's wise to be careful because it's, that
Well, and I watch
there is a
behavior.
tendency in many fields, it seems to be sort of part of a human tendency to be hard on people who don't know what you know, or whatever. And I
Yes,
think,
they're not there yet. But also, I watch behavior, right? I think when I see, okay, this person preaches this, but then on social media behaves this way,
yeah, yeah,
I'm like, oh,
yeah,
sometimes there's a little bit of that. So sometimes I'm like, I'm not going to follow that person. Like, I still love their work. Their work's amazing. I'm going to utilize their work. I want to get to know them that way, but we might not be besties
yeah,
because they're in a different place. And that's, it's not me judging as much as it's me saying I have to be careful about what's in my circle because, like the environment, it has a tremendous amount of influence,
yeah, yeah.
an influence that I'm not always cognizant of when I need to be cognizant of it.
Hmm.
There
Hmm.
was a really interesting video 1,000 years ago on social media that I used to post constantly. Of It's an old man. It looks like it's from like a poor European country. Like, he's not dressed like an American, right? And it's one of those
Whatever
old
that means. Okay.
pull behind you canister vacs,
Okay.
but it's new enough that it has a retractable cord. So he's grabbing a hold of the cord and he's pulling on the cord like it's a starter on a lawnmower.
Oh no. Oh.
And he's getting so mad and he eventually kicks the vacuum cleaner. And I thought to myself, oh my goodness, this is a microcosm
Yeah.
of a simple misunderstanding can escalate into unbelievable stuff, like stuff we would never, ever think ourselves capable of. And that when I feel like I need to judge or I want to judge, I might entertain that for a moment and then have ice cream. But then I need to get curious,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
why. And that believing the thing that's most advantageous to the other person or the other animal, like the most I can gift them grace and seek to understand. I don't have to agree, but I can understand. And
Gotcha.
I think we've lost that a little bit in the world.
Oh, I agree. I agree. And I think, dog trainers who come to us, I mean, they need help. I mean, bless them. That's why they've come, right? Um, and yeah, yeah. And, even whether in classes or privates or whatever, it's like, that great saying is that we all do the best we can at the time with what we know, and I don't know who said it, Ken Ramirez, or, I don't remember what wonderful
Somebody,
god or
somebody
goddess
really
of dog
smart,
training
smarter
said
than
it.
me.
Yeah. But it's so true. It's so true. And I think the more the field of dog behavior and dog training just works really hard to continue to be curious and empathetic and understanding that everybody, people come to you with where they are and what they have, and we need to meet them there.
And they all teach us something,
They all
right?
teach.
There's a lot of wisdom that comes from getting to play in the kiddie pool that I play in. So, do you think that metamorphosis is happening for Maddie too?
I think Maddie, that's a great question. I think as I see Maddie is great at reading dogs, and she's good with people. She's good with people, but what Maddie's problem is that she's not a good observer of herself. She's really good at meeting people where they are, helping them, but she's oblivious to what's sort of obvious to everybody else, which is, again, she lives on Lonely Owl Farm. I mean, I love, speaking of Maddie, Lonely Owl Farm is all about Maddie. Owls I love, somebody on Facebook came up with that. I got to find who it is to thank them specifically. But owls are known in literature and all over the world in so many cultures. Owls are symbols in almost every culture of either wisdom or death or female strength. But they also tend to be solitary. And so Lonely Owl Farm is like an irony, just like Away to Me is. Both Away to Me and Lonely Owl Farm describe Maddie, because that's Maddie. Because Maddie is like, I'm good by myself. I'm absolutely fine. I'm here. I'm staying in my lane. I got 2 friends. That's all I need. I'm good. Don't need a date. I'm good.
I have
But
my dog.
yeah, got my dogs, but she's not. And she doesn't know it. And so Maddie's hero journey is not just risking her life to save a dog. It's discovering something about herself that she didn't know. Yeah.
Yeah. So what an amazing gift to give the world, and still doing behavior work with a twist,
Yeah. Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is amazing. Like,
Thank
and
you.
it doesn't read like a textbook, right? It doesn't read like you're
Oh
in a book,
Lord, no. Yeah, that would be a
right?
nightmare.
But
Yeah.
it's still, I often think like the power of the story, right? I ran into someone yesterday. It was amazing. That I had worked with on an old graveyard here in town that at one point was overgrown and abandoned and not really maintained. And there's been a big push to revitalize. And there are a ton of unmarked graves. Like we don't know who's there. And so this amazing woman who's a genealogist at the university was doing ground penetrating radar to find and mark the
LiDAR. Yeah.
graves so that we knew where people were, and then really trying to work on a ton of research about who these souls are, right?
Yeah.
So that they're not
Wonderful.
lost to time.
Yeah, that's so important.
And it's funny, so I play around with photography, and it's one of my favorite things is to do photography in cemeteries, because I think of all the stories,
Yeah.
right? The power of all of these stories. For example, in this specific graveyard that I'm talking about, and there's a difference between a graveyard and a cemetery. I'm not being disrespectful, I promise. Cemeteries are attached to churches, graveyards are attached to communities, but not a specific church. So they're more, we have a family graveyard
Okay.
unless we have a family
Good
plot
to
and
know.
a
I didn't know the
cemetery.
distinction. So thank you.
Right. Yeah, it's really
Oh,
interesting.
yeah.
Well, and then there's all the things about monuments and all the symbolism, and lots is communicated
Yeah.
that way. And it's, you know, I think as Americans, I don't know about anywhere else, we really try to hold death at arm's length. And
Yeah.
so people don't walk in a cemetery or a graveyard anymore. People don't go and visit their people and talk to them.
Well, they do, but maybe not quite as much as before.
Maybe not the way we did in the past. Like in the past, the way cemeteries became and graveyards became so beautiful is that they were parks. So
Right.
people would traditionally, this started, I think, in England, but if I'm wrong, someone will let me know. And I'm good at being wrong. I'll be gracious about it. People would like go to church on Sunday and pack a lunch and
Right.
go to the cemetery and take care of the plots and take care of the
And
things
have a
and
picnic and
and
talk.
have a picnic and walk and talk and see
Lovely.
their neighbors and see
Yeah.
their aunts and
Lovely.
uncles.
Yeah.
And so very much building community. And so everything was perpetually cared for because the family remained. Now we're so far away often from one another that piece doesn't happen. So because I'm a long way from my people, um, really endeavor to volunteer to do some of that in
Yeah. Good
graveyards
for you.
and to in cemeteries and to do photos for people. Um, And so Meriwether and I had like a wonderful, like it was a moment of kismet where you bump into somebody you've been thinking about. Um, and so just the power of story. And so she and I were talking about the power of story. And she's since retired. She's turned all of her research over to the archives for the graveyard at the university. And so she and I were just chatting, and I was like, so I'm a true crime girl. I don't so much read mysteries, but I do pay attention to true crime because behavior is behavior, and it's very interesting to me.
Yeah, yeah.
And so the same thing, I will listen to a investigator talking about a true crime, and I'm like, oh, that's not what that behavior means. Like, oh, you might want to think about that a different way. And now with social media, we're so high touch that I can be like, hey, I'm just a lowly dog trainer, but I was thinking this.
Yeah.
And they will sometimes write back and go, that
Wow.
makes so much
That
sense.
is
So I
kind of a
love
great
that it
project.
is
Yeah,
this really beautiful marriage. Behavior is behavior.
yeah, yeah.
Watching and learning behavior. Like I think most people like to people watch or to watch the bird feeder. Like,
Or dogs.
or dogs, like we're endlessly,
Yeah,
and or goats. I mean,
yeah, yeah.
we rented goats to clean off our yard when it was like Fern Gully, and we're older and we were not making headway. Like we would work really, really hard all winter, and then spring would happen, and boy vey. And so we rented goats. I didn't want to leave the house. I just wanted to watch goats all day long because they were
Right,
so
right.
interesting.
Yeah,
So I do love that the book has the swirl of that for the people that would grab them by the knickers.
yeah,
Um, and other people would just be like, oh, so that's what she does for a living. That's cool, right? Oh, I didn't know that, right? And we can kind of just enjoy the beauty of the story.
yeah, yeah. Still, we are, I really believe that a big part of what makes us humans is stories, is that we are a species of stories. We love story. I love stories, and I think most people do.
And
So
there are two
I,
real truths.
yeah.
Puppies are cute and murder is wrong, to quote Ashley Banfield.
There you go.
Like, hopefully we could all agree on that.
Yeah, yeah. So, oh, I am so sorry. I mentioned I have to get Skippy to
Mhm.
get his scan.
So good luck on the scan.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for blessing us with this
And
time.
oh, and if I could just throw out there, the book launches February 24th, but you can pre-order it. You can pre-order it on Bookshop, on Amazon, on Barnes and Noble, and it'll be in your bookstores on February 24th.
So do
So
you think you'll do a book tour?
I am. It's all being settled right now. It's all being Spring Green and Madison and Green Bay and Stevens Point and Lake Geneva and Milwaukee. And then I'm probably going to be in Texas and San Antonio and Houston and Dallas. And yeah, yeah.
You
So
gonna
that's
come to
all.
Atlanta? You gonna come to Georgia?
I don't think so. It's not on the plan. But anyway, but
Well,
thank
if
you
you have a
so
layover here,
much.
let me know and I'll meet you
Thank,
at the airport.
thank you. Thank
Thank
you
you
so
so
much,
much.
Tina.
I wish you the every blessing with this book series. I'm so excited, and I'll be ordering because while I was given a copy of your book, I do believe that people should be paid for their beautiful work.
Oh, you're so kind.
And I look forward to talking to you again. Thank you
Thank
for spending
you.
your precious time with us.
Thank you, Tina.
We'll see you next time on the Your Family Dog. That's it for today's episode. Thank you so much for spending part of your precious day with us. If you enjoyed the show, be sure to follow, rate, subscribe so that you never miss an episode. We'd love to hear from you. Connect with us on social media or email us at yourfamilydogpodcast@gmail.com. We'll see you soon.